Good morning, everyone. My name is Julian. I am a principal engineer with MEGCHEM, Mechanical Engineering Department, and I'm here to talk to you about ISO 9001. It's not as exciting or riveting as 3D scanning on a drone. I'll do my best to make it interesting. This is an important concept for every company pretty much doing business and industry. I come from a background in maintenance engineering. I spent about 14 years so far, most of that working with MEGCHEM and Roadshow. Spent about 8 years at Coburg in the Western Cape. Alluding to the first presentation, I did my best with regard to load shedding. I didn't always win. But you start to see, when you build up years' experience, you start to see a lot of companies in industry do things in very different ways. And everybody wants to achieve high levels of quality, but a lot of companies sort of miss the boat when it comes to doing this sort of thing properly. So we'll talk about what is quality and what is ISO 9001, how does that tie into business operations. If you're an engineering company, if you're a service provider, if you make products, it's basically applicable to anything there. And then our implementation of a quality management system, but just at a high level, what it is that we do to ensure that we can achieve our certification and that we can add value to our clients. Some pitfalls. That's one thing that a lot of people don't think about is when you implement a quality management system, there are things that can go wrong with that system that can hamper your business. Advice for those looking to improve quality. So again, from my personal experience in an industry where there's a lot of regulation and there's a lot of emphasis on quality, there are things that you can look out for. And then some closing thoughts around the subject. So to start off, what is quality? You'll find on the internet a lot of anecdotes about what quality is. Quality is not an act, it's a habit. Quality means doing it right when no one is looking. Quality is remembered long after the price is forgotten. Quality is never an accident, it is always the result of intelligent effort. And the last one, which was Dr. William Edwards Deming, he's the father of modern quality systems. Quality is everyone's responsibility. But from this, that doesn't really say what quality is, does it? The problem with quotes on the internet is that it is hard to verify their authenticity. So, yeah, a lot of people can tell you what it is, but to really understand what quality is, you have to go back to the definition. ISO, the International Organization for Standardization, defines quality as the degree to which a set of inherent characteristics or distinguishing features of an object, which in turn is defined as anything perceived or conceivable, such as a product, a service, a process, a person, organization, a system, or a resource, fulfills requirements. To put it plain and simple, a quality product or service meets or exceeds customer and or regulatory requirements. That's all it comes down to. If you make it and your customer is happy and it's exactly what they asked for, it's a quality product, right? So ISO 9001 is an internationally recognized standard for quality management. Most companies today will be implementing some form of an ISO 9001 system. It provides a framework so that companies can ensure that their products are consistent, organized, and of a high quality. They can demonstrate to their customers and their stakeholders that they are serious about delivering a quality product and making effort to improve on what they do. It defines the requirements for a quality management system because it's not some abstract concept, it's something you have to actually implement. And it provides mechanisms to manage the processes and procedures, manage your documentation, manage your auditing and self-checking, and the not so fun part of corrective actions or non-conformances. So there are 7 principles that ISO 9001 defines, and in the standard, then there are 10 clauses that are applicable, 10 things that you need to effectively implement. So the first one is customer focus. The customer's needs and requirements should always be at the forefront of quality management. Leadership. This is a quite important one for a lot of companies. Leaders at all levels must collectively embrace quality management so that you have unity of direction and purpose. I've seen quite often how that isn't the case, and then it doesn't work out. Engagement of people, so people at all levels of the organization who are competent, empowered, and engaged enhances your capability to deliver value. I think that's one of the most important ones, and I think where a lot of businesses unfortunately struggle is making employees feel part of the process to actually deliver value. A process approach is required, so everything that you do, every process, every mechanism that you put in place is part of a coherent system, and that system is interrelated, and it provides you with consistent, predictable results if you implement it correctly. Improvement, you should always be focusing on improvement. Why do something the same way every day? The most dangerous thing that any company can say is, this is the way we've always done it. You can always do better. Evidence-based decision-making. Again, one that I see happen often that companies tend to fall short is they make decisions based on abstract, not relevant information. If you're not making the decisions based on facts, then you are arbitrarily moving your business in a particular direction. That obviously comes with risks. And relationship management. So managing your relationships with your clients, managing your relationships with your suppliers, managing relationships with your partners is critical, because without them, there is no business. If you don't manage your relationship with your clients, you won't make money. If you don't manage relationships with your partners, you won't be able to deliver your product. So it's all about managing all the stakeholders in the process. So this has unfortunately failed me a little bit. But let me quickly do this. Sorry, guys. Excel decides today that it's going to break. So the clauses is effectively what you need to do to implement a QMS. It forms the part of the 4 aspects of this cycle of managing a business, right? So it's plan, do, check, and act, right? So the planning part, you have the context of your organization, so you determine the internal, external factors that affect your business and how you add value to your customers. Leadership, commitment from leadership is paramount, because without leadership commitment, there's no direction. Every company is driven by leadership. If your MD of your company is pulling in one direction and the rest of the team's pulling in another direction, you're going to tear yourself apart, almost literally. Planning. So the QMS must have mechanisms in place that are designed to help you meet your objectives. If you say that you want to achieve a certain level of quality, that becomes an objective. You need to plan and develop the mechanisms that's going to help you get there. Support. So it addresses soft issues such as resources, competence, awareness, communication, and documented information. Again, it can't be this abstract thing that exists in the company somewhere and no one really knows about it. It's got to be documented and continuously communicated to everyone involved. Operation is your planning, implementation, and control of those processes. So once you write procedures on how to do things, you set up processes to improve quality in your products, you have to continually apply control to that. You can't start it off and just let it run and then assume that it's right. You have to keep going back and verifying that it is adding the value that you want it to. Performance evaluation, so you need to be able to measure what you're doing and analyze that information and determine, again, are you adding value? Is the system working for you? A lot of the time, This involves auditing. It's just never a fun activity for anybody. But auditing is meant to show you where you are struggling, not necessarily be a bad thing. It's meant to help you. And that's, I think, where a lot of companies tend to lose the plot is they think that that's a bad thing. And then improvement. So as I mentioned earlier, continuous improvement is very important in this whole process, because if you're not trying to do things better the next day, your competitor is going to come and do it better than you, and so on. And eventually your clients are going to say, well, that guy did it for me yesterday. This guy can do it better, cheaper. I'm gonna take him as the preferred supplier. So it's critical. So in our case, how is our context? So we're a multidisciplinary design, consulting, engineering, procurement, construction services provider. Our clients exist in petrochem, chemical, power gen, infrastructure, allied services, and other industries. And we also have capacity to provide metallurgical engineering, analysis, fabrication, and heat treatment services. So we have a big blanket that covers a lot of what's happening in industry. So our customers exist in many different spheres of industry and economies where businesses and their needs and their regulatory requirements place a high burden on their operations. Coming from the nuclear industry, I can promise you it's so much worse when it comes to regulatory compliance, and the hoops you have to jump through, they are absolutely phenomenal. I think we have it lucky here in Secunda. So we therefore need to perform at a high level of quality to remain competitive in the market, be able to add value to our customers' businesses. Because again, our customers come to us for help with a particular problem. If we don't add value, then our customers effectively wasting their money. How is leadership involved? So we started by setting up a quality policy. It's defined and issued by our MD and endorsed by our whole executive team. And it highlights our commitment to quality for customers, satisfaction in line with the requirements of the customer and professional standards, timeless delivery of high quality products, ongoing development of a culture of quality and responsibility. Every person takes responsibility for their work, the organization, the customers, and our suppliers and partners. And we apply measurement and analysis and best practices to try and improve on our system. There's always room for improvement. Planning, so we look at the risks and opportunities within our environment, and we plan the activities that management drives so that we can assure ourselves that our QMS actually is going to achieve some tangible result. It enhances the desirable effects and prevents or reduces the undesirable effects, because again, no system is perfect. When you implement, chances are you're going to run into issues and have to change and adjust things. It's never a set in stone solution. So the planning activities are undertaken by the organization. We set strategies, changing needs and expectations of our clients. We implement those changes. We look for ways that we can improve or do things more efficiently. And this impacts our need for skills, for resources, for methods and equipment and overall business strategy. Good example, Braconics, how they're doing their scanning. It's an evolving need, and you develop new technology, and that builds now on what you're capable of delivering, high quality products. Support, so we address how we can best position the right people, the right infrastructure, putting them in the right place to achieve the goals of the organization. This is another place where companies tend to struggle, is getting the right people in the right place. All employees need to be well informed. So as I mentioned earlier, if you implement a quality management system and only executive level management knows about it, it's not going to be particularly successful, because the people doing the actual work are the business, and they are the people that need to understand the quality culture and how it's supposed to work. We place emphasis on training and competency, again, to make sure that the right people are doing the work and that they can deliver the right outputs. And we make clear how everything needs to be documented to control and manage the quality management system. So access to information is also critical for everyone involved, and also controlling who can have access to that information. That ties into information security. Operations, so we implement various procedures, specifications, methods of doing things, and we establish what is best practice for us, sometimes based on best practice from industry. And that enables us to meet the needs of our customers in many of our cases. We don't always get it 100% right, but we try our very best to do the highest quality job that we can and add that value to our customers. So there are established criteria. So when it comes to sub-suppliers, subcontractors, that's also an important thing. So a client like Sasol relies on us to do a project where we procure equipment from sub-suppliers. And one of the issues that we sometimes experience is we go out to market, we purchase a piece of equipment, we get it, it's not exactly 100% right. So we have methods and mechanisms in place to engage with those suppliers to ensure that what we're getting from them is at the level that we expect it to be, so that we can give it to our customer and we know that it's the right thing. And performance evaluation, so we have procedures in place to regularly assess how our system and our business is doing. We look for where improvements can be made based on feedback from customers, so we regularly request feedback from customers. It's quite important. And we can make improvements when we get positive feedback. Sometimes we do something a little bit different and the client's very happy, and then we know, right, we've struck a nerve, let's go in that direction. And then sometimes you get negative feedback. It's not always nice, but it happens. And then we look at where the process fails us and how we can change things to prevent that from happening. Internal auditing is important, and we regularly do that to assess if our objectives are being met. And then following that is management review. So leadership driving the quality process must also be involved in the review of what's happening. Assessing how the company is doing and how the quality management system is doing, so that what they preach is actually what's happening. And then improvement. So we have a system where we manage non-conformances and corrective actions. So when things don't go as well as we like, we register it in that system, we keep track of it, and then there's always an executive level manager involved in resolving those issues. But we also have OFIs, opportunities for improvement. So if somebody sees a way that we can do something better, identifies a new product in the market that can help us do our business better, we can include it there. Then executive management is immediately aware of this potential for change and growth in the business. And it's also important with our customers and our suppliers, so going both ways. We make that system available for our clients to look at, so they can understand where we are in terms of managing quality, especially on their projects. And then suppliers as well. We use that same system to manage how our suppliers are adding value to us, and by extension our customers. So I want to talk a little bit about the pitfalls of implementing a quality management system. So yes, it's a great idea. Everybody wants to do it. Everybody should be doing it. But it's not a silver bullet. If you focus on the wrong things, then the tendency is for the system to hamper you more than help you. So some organizations do an excellent job of implementing that QMS, and they achieve their certification. And then after some time, the focus starts to shift, and the business becomes obsessed with managing the quality system. And then you spend a lot of time focusing on poor performance, focusing on where you're not doing things right. You forget that you actually sell a product or a service, not manage quality. So it's almost impossible to get out of, because you spend more time firefighting than doing your core business. Another example is organizations that experience windfall revenue, increased profits, great market conditions, tech boom, huge sale volumes. There's a lot of companies around the world that have that. But then their priorities and their core focus starts to shift, and the attitude of management changes with respect to quality. So the culture within the organization shifts rapidly, and employers at all levels start to deviate from the QMS requirements. Shortcuts mean faster revenue, means more potential profit. Consequently, the usual quality, regulatory, and safety principles, which are usually engineering responsibilities, just become sidelined or get overruled in favor of getting a product out faster. So I'm sure most of you will know who I'm talking about in this case, and it's a useful case study for this particular discussion. And that would be Boeing. So this is just a snapshot from yesterday's news on, I think it was BBC. That's a very terrible thing to have written about your company in media, right? Boeing, is very proud of the fact that they implement AS 9100. It's the same as ISO 9001. It's just specific to aerospace industry, and it's largely the same thing. But it's a good example of how management completely lost the plot with what they are supposed to be doing. Because first and foremost, you're building aircraft and they must be safe. That's it. Profit is meaningless if you get charged criminally and thrown in jail because you were negligent in how you ran your business and forwent the quality requirements and the regulatory requirements. It's a no-brainer. Very sad story. Another example is organizations that do well to set up and run a QMS but don't do the due diligence of identifying the actual root cause when there's a deviation or a non-compliance. You can go around in circles many, many times with the same issue, and unfortunately, if you don't want to have that conversation, that difficult conversation about what the problem is, usually no one likes conflict. It can be very difficult to get your root cause properly identified and actually address it. Sometimes it can be attributed to a person's behavior or competence. And no one likes to use the word competence, but you set your employees up to fail if they're not trained properly. So the onus is on, again, management to make sure that your employees are trained properly. If the guy makes a mistake, you can't blame him and say you didn't know what you were doing. You as management didn't train him to make sure you knew what he was doing. So it creates a high risk for reoccurrence and impacts the overall effectiveness of your QMS. So again, you start going around in circles. So the last example, and this again comes from my experience in the maintenance engineering environment, but you become heavily procedure focused. You get weighed down by paperwork and a process to fulfill some condition that you think is going to give you the quality outcomes that you want. A lot of the time that might not be the case. It demotivates everybody involved because nobody likes paperwork. Anyone here like paperwork? Put up your hand. So it slows down your business and starts to impact quality. You think that you're getting the value out of running a QMS and doing that paperwork, but you're actually just shooting yourself in the foot because it's taking longer and it's more difficult to get things done. And in my experience, I've been involved with clients who even try to write skill of craft into procedure. Try telling an artisan how to use a spanner. It's not going to be a fun conversation to have. If you want an artisan to do well, let's say, for example, in maintenance, give him a procedure and explain very simply how to do the job, but make sure he's trained and competent to do it to the level that you expect. Writing it into procedure is not going to solve it. So my just basic advice for organizations that are pursuing quality: implement a QMS and get ISO 9001 certified. I think that's the main point of the discussion. But ensure that excellence, or the pursuit of excellence, starts at the top. So management at every level needs to be involved, and they need to drive it. It can't just be this abstract concept that people hear about in the company, and it's not really spoken about and pursued properly. Be diligent in your understanding of the needs and requirements of your customers. So if you're not having regular conversations with your customers about what work you're doing, how you're doing it, and are they satisfied with what you're doing, your customer's going to go somewhere else. Put emphasis on placing the right people in the right positions to promote and influence a culture of quality. Again, very difficult to do. In South Africa, the labor market is heavily constrained. It's very difficult to find the right people to put in the position where you need them. I don't say that it's an easy task, but sometimes you get a situation where you have the right person for the job and then you appoint someone else for whatever reason, and your business ultimately suffers. If you see the value that a person can add, grasp that and use it to your advantage. Focus on applicability first, then drill down into efficiency when it comes to processes and procedures. It's a fantastic thing to write procedures. It's a fantastic thing to develop processes to do your business better, but it has to add value. If you are not doing it more effectively and more efficiently, it's not worth it. So there is no value. It doesn't help going to the auditor and saying, well, I've got 300 procedures, but only 10 of them actually help me do my business properly. If a deficiency or non-conformance arises, ensure that the right people, again, this ties into point number 4, ensure that the right people investigate it and identify the root cause, the actual root cause. Because I can't tell you how many times I've encountered that an organization will have a non-conformance, put in some process to fix it, and then 3 months down the line it happens again. And then they do it again, and then 3 months down the line it happens again. It's mind-boggling how often that happens. You don't get to the actual root cause, you don't address the root cause, and then reoccurrence is almost a certainty. So a lot of you might have seen this before. It's known as the common law of business balance. But you may only choose 2. Good, fast, and cheap. So a lot of people like to say this when they're dealing with their customers or complaining to one another how not nice their customer is. They'll refer to this and say, well, I can do it fast and cheap, but it's not going to be good. Or I can do it good and fast, it's not going to be cheap. And we find ourselves going around in circles like this. And there's a reason why I'm using this. This isn't what I think the approach should be, right? So you shouldn't be going to your customer and saying, you can only pick 2. You should get up in the morning and say that it's going to be good, no matter what, right? How fast and how cheap it is up to you. Your customer will see the value that you add because, yes, the no man's land in the middle there is almost impossible to achieve. I like to call it no man's land, although there's a unicorn there, but it's almost impossible to achieve. Show me one organization that can do all 3 consistently. Consistently. It's just not possible. But our goal should be good first. The rest can follow. You can work hard and work smart to reduce inefficiencies and improve your effectiveness and do it faster. Or work with your suppliers, good suppliers that know what they're doing, that give it to you the right product, the right time, first time. Then it will be cheap. People tend to lose sight of what their goal actually is, and they worry too much about, am I getting paid enough for this job? Who cares if it's good or not? Am I getting paid enough? And that's not the point. As a business, you are not going to be competitive and you won't survive if it's not good. That's the main thing, the main takeaway I want you to take from this. So Dr. Deming said long-term commitment to new learning and new philosophy is required of any management that seeks transformation. The timid and the faint-hearted and the people that expect quick results are doomed to disappointment. There's no easy way to do this. It's difficult, it's tedious, and sometimes it's downright boring. But if you don't do it properly, you're not going to add value for your customers, and it's as simple as that. If you want to add value, implement a system and manage that system and make sure that you're achieving the quality results that you want. If you're not delivering that, then your customers won't value what you're doing. Right. I'm going to, in the interest of time, ask that you come and see us at our exhibit. You can't miss it. It's right by the bar. If you have any questions or want to discuss further, you're more than welcome. But thank you very much for your time. Sorry, everyone, the bar is now open, 11 o'clock. MEGCHEM is sponsoring the bar, so you're welcome to come join us for a drink. Thank you very much.